What's up, everybody, everyone in the universe? Welcome to Mahony Meeting Podcast number 1, featuring your host, Casey. You can find me on Instagram at LiftedCam, and I will introduce my first guest, Patrick Mahony, my roommate and brother and big meathead mechanic man. What's going on, Patrick?
Not too much. How's it going?
Oh, it's great. This is the first episode of the podcast. We're going to start it off with a swing,
Good luck with this.
Yeah, I know. It's a hell of a thing. So, we're going to start off with what's up with you? What's going on in your world?
And not too much. Just learning day by day. Working a shop with our dad as a mechanic. Repair just about anything.
Yeah, how's that? How's the working there with Dad?
It's a lot of fun. I've got a lot to learn. He's got a lot to teach.
Yeah, Mr. What is he, 63 now? 63-year-old cranking away at it?
Yeah, he's been working on cars since he was 14.
Jesus Christ. What did he start with? I don't know those stories too well. You tell Dad's story.
Tell Dad's story?
Well, let me just say, our father runs a shop, the Fix 'em Up shop in Altona, New York. He's going. He's a Mopar man. That's all he runs is Dodge, Plymouth, Jeep, Chrysler, all that stuff, and that's all he's done all his life. He grew up on a farm, and he's an entrepreneur, and our whole family's backed him. So he's a hell of a guy, I tell you. But anyway, here's the story from Patrick.
Yeah, so actually before the Mopars, before anything like that, he started with Jeep. Well, not Jeep. He actually started with Volkswagen before that. He started with Volkswagens. They had an old bus that wasn't running, and he asked his dad if he could work on it or try working on it. And our grandfather said, well, you can't make it any worse. So he started with that, got it running, had taken everything apart, didn't know what he was doing. He was only 14 at the time. So he got that running, and he just got hooked on it. He loves making things run, getting things coming back from the dead almost. He likes to figure out how things work, how they go together, how they run. He's very mechanically minded. Our shop will work on, like I said, just about anything. I mean,
Well, except for diesel.
yeah, we're not set up for diesels. That requires a different tool set, a different skill set, and heavier duty equipment than we have. Like our lift is only a 9,000 pound lift. We're not really set up for bigger than a 1 ton. I mean, we have put the ambulance on before, but that was really pushing the limits.
Yeah, so you can tell how Dad started. He started his own thing up in his head. I mean, philosophically, that's a very, very it's just a strong point that I like to think about. But how did that get you started?
So I really didn't know where I was going in my life. I had tried at first when I got out of high school to go into teaching academics, but I'm really not good at putting my foot down when it comes to children or anything like that. So they'd walk all over me, and I know that's going to do more harm than good to any child in an education developmental stage or education environment. Kids need to have some structure. They need to have some discipline, some authoritarian figures to kind of help them grow. And if you just let kids do anything they want and push you around, it does more harm than good in the long run. So,
Oh, yeah, I definitely know that. I went to a trade school, CV Tech, that I'm sure some of these listeners will remember. And God bless our teacher, almost like a professor, but man, when he was out of the room, it was sure as hell. I tell you, people would just be running around, and oh man, I tell you, because that place was basically, you take yourself out of high school in the last 2 years, which is those wild years. It's when those people are, they're doing the fun stuff. So there's no discipline.
Oh, yeah. And that's right at the time in a lot of people's lives where they start trying to figure out who they are and really start seeing themselves as adults or becoming an adult. And so they really are looking for independence. They're looking for their own.
It's like a crazy application of puberty, but it's way worse because it's a self-reflection thing, but they don't know what's going on. I love it.
Yeah, it's kind of trying to contain the uncontainable chaos that is adolescence and puberty.
Oh, definitely, yeah. There's a whole argument to education I always like to delve into with. I read a lot, you know that.
Mm-hmm.
I have a ton of books. I barely ever get through them once. I love to reread. But I tell you, in high school, the problem that I find is that there's a lot of great works that are especially through words. Because, I mean, that's the only way we know how to elucidate things. And they force us to read this bullshit. But, I mean, some of it's good, but the underlying factor, they just never really, they never look at. So it's like, yeah, here's the class, here's the book. But it was a fictional story like, what's the one with the pig's head? Lord of the Flies. Lord of the Flies is one of those that, I love that story. It's so dark. But some of the underlying tales, they don't really touch upon. But everybody knows the story. It's like, man, that's fucked up.
Yeah, but again, with choosing what literary works to use in a classroom experience, or even the whole education as well, the whole education system, it's hard to create a blanket program for everyone.
Well, everybody's different.
Well, yeah, everyone's different, but there has to be some uniform order to it in order to kind of standardize the basics of what you need to know.
Yeah, that's the libertarian versus the conservative views. Like, libertarians are like, oh, yeah, just get everybody working. And I forget the difference, but conservative is like, everybody should work. There's a job for everybody. Well, that's not true. And then libertarians, I'm pretty sure it's something along the lines of like, we can make a job for everybody, or we can accommodate for people. You know, neither is right.
No, but it's with all things. There's no real black and white. It's mostly shades of gray. There's so many different nuances to any little thing. You can't divide people up into, you are meant to be a carpenter. You should be a carpenter. Because
like, oh yeah, your dad was a mechanic. That's why you're a mechanic.
Exactly.
I hate you. Ugh.
Like, this is
that's where you got those skills.
That's where, and that's why, I mean, there used to be the class system and the caste systems, and that's faded away
here comes the historian out in you. But I love it. I wish I was, man, I don't have that in me. I mean, I hate this whole bullshit about, you got skills instead of actually disciplining yourself. But I do tell you, you're a lot better with remembering things. Everybody who knows me knows I'm horrible at remembering things, but if I write it down, I'll remember.
Oh yeah, I'm sure your listeners over the lifespan and growth of this podcast will learn that things will come in and out of your mind very quickly.
Yeah. Oh my God, it's horrible. It's way worse than what it looks like. That's the worst part. But anyways, so growing up in high school, what was that like?
For me, I was pretty much your classic, how do I want to say this, wallflower.
Wallflower.
I really wasn't super social. I was friendly. I liked talking to people, but a very small group of people. Always have been, and struggle with being super shy. I have a hard time talking and meeting new people. And so I spent a lot of my time in high school just kind of on my own or with a very small group of friends.
I almost think that's better, though. Sometimes it's better to be inside your own head and kind of just chisel that, like from... what's that quote? Where
yes,
from stone is when you chisel the sculpture. Or
to a point. But you also need the social interactions of learning to deal with the general public and the different types of people you'll meet in your life.
Yeah, especially with being in a kind of an entrepreneurial business with Dad.
Yeah, I kind of fell into that.
Well, let me denote for the listeners that Patrick is the eldest in the family. Of 5.
Yes, I'm the eldest of 5 siblings, and our parents, who I'm super grateful for, have let all of us pretty much go after and seek out whatever we wanted, whatever kind of career path we were looking to go into. They encouraged us.
Oh yeah, as stupid as as sometimes they can think it's stupid or something, but they'll be behind it.
Yeah, so long as if you're really interested in it, you're willing to put the work in, they'll 100%.
That's how this came to fruition. I mean,
yeah, if they see that you're actually interested in something, they'll let you go for it. But they'll try their best to guide us and kind of keep us from the shortfallings of short attention spans or just not frugal, I'd say frivolous spending for stuff that they can tell.
You and I both know we're bad at that.
Oh, we are horribly.
Jesus. If you're a car guy, which I know a lot of you are going to be, you definitely are just like him and I. You're fishing for these cars you're never even going to buy. You're like, oh, that shit's cool. I'm going to buy that.
Yeah, but
You can imagine yourself shifting in like a late afternoon in that car, going through just the fall in the upstate New York, just driving these windy roads, just freshly paved. You're not gonna do that shit.
No,
But you're gonna imagine
the
it.
dream. It's the dream, but it's the desire for the dream, for the feeling, for the adrenaline rush, the emotions that cars can bring out of people.
It's
But
a passion. Yeah.
yeah, it's a passion, and our parents have very much pushed us towards follow your passion. So going through the list of all of our siblings, I mean, what we went for education, I mean, I started in education, and then went on to automotive, and that pretty much came from I started education because I really didn't know where to go. I did like the school experience and learning and academics, and I
Oh, you
loved,
still do too.
oh yeah, I love learning. I love finding different things. Anything that piques my interest, I'll dive right into. I deep dive into a lot of stuff. But then as I realized that I would not be a good fit for that, and I would do more harm than good in any education aspect that I went into, then I decided to go towards automotive because I was starting to enjoy cars, and it's a skill, learning to work on your own car, that can save you so much money in the future, and it's such a good skill to have.
One of the cool things that I always bring up in my mind is like thinking, Dad is a very good educator. Like many people don't know that, but he'll explain to the customer what the hell he did and why it's wrong and why it's right now with whatever he repairs. And one of the good quotes by one of the people I follow, I love this guy, Jordan Peterson. He says, "What is silent in the Father speaks in the Son." So what I thought was that you maybe had looked through the aperture of your father, seeing that education was kind of a cool thing, but you didn't really have that niche that he did. That you love it like he does, but you didn't fall set into it. So you kind of found your own way, kind of like he did.
Yeah, I'd kind of, like I say, I describe my life as kind of falling into things and stumbling, bumbling my way through life without ever really realizing where I'm headed or how I got here. I'm working a great business. I love working with Dad. I look forward to work almost every single day. Yeah, there's some jobs that can be a pain, but at the end of the day, it's a great feeling to bring a car back from the brink and just see the smile on a customer's face when their car's back. Because cars are so crucial to our culture up here in the North Country, or really anywhere rural, because you have to get places. A car is a necessity because it's not like in an urban area where there's mass transportation. I mean, there's still Ubers and things like that, but they're not as predominant up here. Most people, a big part of our life are vehicles, automotive. It's whether it's four-wheelers, cars, motorcycles, ATVs. There's some aspect of mobile transportation, motorized, that everybody gets into.
Yeah, I mean, I just ran 10 miles the other day, and Jesus Christ, people drive 30 miles to their job every day. They couldn't walk that. There's
Exactly.
no carpooling up here because, I mean, it's not like people don't like each other. There's friendly-ass people up here. But there's, I don't know, it's a personalization thing. People kind of own their own car, and that's their thing. There's a lot of car guys up here. It's because, I don't know, it just brings that atmosphere.
Yeah, and another reason I kind of feel that the people don't carpool as much here is because there's a lot of independence. People are pretty independent in this area, and usually they have their own plans, their own comings and goings, and it doesn't always line up because then you have to mend your schedule with whoever you're riding with.
Oh my God, I hate that. I do that at college all the time.
Yeah, so
Like, I know some of these people are going to be college listeners, but like going to the gym with somebody, I love it, but man, just going when you want to, 6 a.m., like I like to go there right as it opens because it's great. There's nobody there, but nobody else wants to get up, or if they do get up, they'll be there by 6:30 and you're already halfway done the workout.
exactly. That's why, like, when I was in college, I did a lot of running. I got into running, and it was a very independent, individual thing. I just did it on my own when I felt like it, when I had time for it. I would
Yeah.
just go and run however long, however fast. I didn't have to match a pace. I mean, when I went running with some of my friends, it was nice to have company and have someone with you,
That
but
drive.
you had to match their pace because I've got a decent pace when I run, and I'm taller than a lot of my friends.
Yeah, it's the leg span. Is that yeah? I personally hate running with other people. I just no, I'd rather run alone. Or if you're gonna run with me, you're gonna run behind me or in front of me. It doesn't matter. I don't. I'm not gonna match your pace. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna go my pace.
Yeah, and there's a lot of jostling for position, especially say when you're running. Like I went to SUNY Canton, I'd run through the town on the sidewalks, but when you meet someone, then you've got to get in single file, figure out who's going ahead, who's going behind,
It's just like
get
on the
around
track.
people.
Yep.
You've got to figure out what's going on, and when you're just on your own, and also how long are they going to want to run? What's their stamina like? What are they feeling? I mean, are they having a good day? Do they get a leg cramp? You know, are you going to have to slow down? Are they having trouble breathing? You've got to just keep an eye on each other. You can't just keep going and leave them behind if they have a problem.
You can't just go out and die like you usually do.
Exactly. You can't. And you don't. It's funny. You either push yourself way harder than you did before, or you don't even push yourself half as much as you do on your own.
Oh yeah, like I was saying when you were talking, drive is a big thing. Drive when people are watching is kind of what happens with normal people. That's usually those. I wouldn't say extroverted. Most people actually they'll push a bit, like in a marathon when you have people watching, they'll push it harder. But
Yeah. Everyone acts a little differently when eyes are upon them.
Yeah, I don't like that. I'm a big person who doesn't. I don't care. I don't care when people are watching. I like to run, but I'd rather take a back road and not get hit by a car than have people watching.
Well, yeah, but that's the other thing that's a little different for us is in this area, there's not a lot of sidewalks. There's not a lot of infrastructure for that.
Sidewalks are so weird. They just end in random spots, and they
in
don't
our
go
town,
together.
yeah.
Yeah, they don't go together either.
Oh.
Like the one by the church, it'll stop. Like, where's it stop? The fire station?
Yeah.
Yeah,
On this side.
on one side of the road and the other side of the road. It starts at the church and goes way past all the way to the park, and it's not even that far, which is stupid. I don't understand this place.
Yeah, the infrastructure for the sidewalks was not the best designed.
Oh yeah.
But our town isn't really designed with foot traffic in mind.
Oh yeah. I mean, what the hell is here? There's a Family Dollar,
We've got the Family Dollar,
the post office,
the post office, the church,
fire department.
fire department,
That's it.
and the prison.
Oh, the prison. Oh, I mean, who the
As
hell's
far as-
gonna walk to the prison?
Yeah, but that used to be the. But don't forget that was
It
the
was a
school.
Yeah.
So back when it was a school and they
But
were
there-
putting a lot of sidewalks in.
There's still no sidewalks down to the school. I mean, there's the one on the opposite side, but not on
Yeah.
the right side of the road. Which is
True.
kind of funny. Oh yeah, for any people that want to know, our Altona I think it was elementary, right?
Yeah, it was the elementary.
Yeah, the elementary school, as Dad likes to joke, was literally a prison, and they actually turned it into a minimum security prison. So,
Yeah, so I mean, it's kind of odd coming from because of that infrastructure or because of that building, a lot of people who we know are correction officers. There's not a huge variety of careers up in this area. A lot of people you'll meet are either in the medical field, they're in corrections,
farming's a big one.
farming, or maintenance, carpentry. Like,
Oh, yeah.
there's a lot of manual labor jobs in this area. There's not a lot of like CEO type or management or office jobs or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, up here we build our own stuff. I mean, you rarely if there's a house for sale, I've noticed, it's gone. You're going to have to buy some land and build your own house up here, because it is very rare that you're going to find a house in a good location up here. There's a few apartments, very few apartments. They're getting slimmer, actually, which is kind of weird. I guess they're not making money or something. But, you'll find double wides because that's an easier, quicker way to get things up, and cheaper probably. But you'll find a lot of built houses and plans to build houses. You'll just see them. They'll go up in the summer, a whole ass house.
I know of a couple that are being built right now that are going to be finished for the winter, because a big thing up here is we have a very short warm season as opposed to how many months of winter we have. So there's an urgency. And I've kind of heard a comparison from people who are from out of state who come up this way, that everyone here seems to always be in a bit of a hurry. There's not a lot of taking it
what
easy.
Is it like 6-8 split for months on warm, cold?
I'd say somewhere around there, yeah.
Yeah, but with the warm months, like 3 of them are on the tail ends are just slush and wet.
Yeah.
So that you only have like 3 months.
3 or 4 months a year of really nice, and it goes from nice to very warm.
Oh, it gets hot.
Yeah.
It gets humid actually. It's
That's
very
the
wet
problem.
up here. All the
There's a lot of
comes
moisture
up.
in this area. That's
Yeah.
why we have so many green trees and thick forest. It's because we just have a very wet and humid environment. Nothing like the tropics or anything,
No.
but there's a lot of precipitation.
It's a beautiful place though.
Oh yes, I'm very glad to be born and raised up in this
yeah.
area.
Yeah, it's beautiful, but stuff doesn't burn here, so there's just shit lying around all over. So like down trees and everything, you're not gonna get that nice open forest very rarely. There's probably a house in that location if there's a forest that's open.
It's nearby. It's near somebody's home when they've cleared it and purposely kept it as an open forest.
Yeah, you can't blame them for that.
No, it's a beautiful.
So, anyways, we've talked about your earlier life, but we haven't really touched upon what we do for passions and hobbies. If you want to explain to the listeners, we'll keep the big one towards the end, to the racing. We'll keep that towards the end because I'm pretty passionate about that as well. But what kind of little niche things do you feel like people should be doing that you have been doing?
I don't know about things that I've been doing that people should be doing, but you just have to find, it's oversaid, overdone, but you've got to find something small, something little that really brings joy to you, that you can just spend a little bit of time whenever you get a chance and kind of work at it.
Oh, yeah, I find that people aren't resonating with half the shit they're doing. I find that all the time at college. You'll have undeclared majors at the end of their third year, and it's like, what are you doing? Well, I mean, I understand you're going to classes, and maybe you're trying to still feel out what the hell you're going to do in life, but...
Well, there's also the big thing, and this was how I wound up going for automotive, and even though I had decided I wasn't going to pursue my education career, I kept going as kind of an undeclared for a year and a half, because I've realized if you're going to college, you go to college. But people who stop going don't go anymore. If they say, I'm going to take a year off.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to take a semester off.
Oh, yeah.
What happens is, and it's nothing against people who do that, and it's not looking down or thinking that, I'm better for sticking through with it. Life starts. You get bills, you move on, you start doing things.
It's going to be way worse. Like, you think it's going to be way worse if you were to stick it out and get that big college bill at the end. But it's going to be way worse to have wasted that time and never go back and still owe the college all that money you already did. It's there's going to be financial advisors are really good. People don't understand that. Like, you got to call them up.
Oh, yeah. Well, one problem also is when you're in school, high school, and they really push education, and they push, which is good, but it's almost like they've got a mantra where they keep you in the education system, but you don't get enough experience with different things in life to really know what you want to go for. Like, it's a lot of academia, but not a lot of hands-on.
Oh, yeah, that's what CV Tech is great for.
The problem is, I find with CV Tech is how they...
Oh, by the way, there's Champlain Valley Technical Institute or something along those lines. If you want to look them up, they're great people. They really push you in the way you want to go. Personally, I went for automotive technician with Mr. Bassett. Great guy, I love that guy. But I already knew a lot of the stuff we were already jumping into coming from my background. I probably should have went for something I was not more intrigued in, but didn't know as much and just as intrigued in. Because it's almost like you're just polishing what the hell you have, which is all right, but it's not wasting. But to use 2 years of your life to do that it was almost I brought my own projects in to work on them at some point. You remember that?
Yeah.
The 75. Yeah, I brought that in and I just started working on it because I was like, well, I'm already working on other customers. I might as well work on my own junk.
Yeah, but the thing is, and the problem I find with the CV Tech Institute, the way it's set up, is it's promoted almost, well, not promoted, but it becomes viewed as, at least when I was in school, as an escape for those who don't want to deal with classic academics. They don't want to be in a classroom all the time. So the only way out is you go to CV Tech. It has a stigma of being working class.
You're the idiot.
Yeah, you're undereducated or you're not strong academically.
I hate that.
And they really put a stigma of that on. And it's nothing that the administrators or the faculty do. It's the student body themselves seem to grow this mindset, and nothing's really done to counter that. and where it feels like you're headed down a lower income, lower class, almost as it were, way of life if you went to CV Tech, as opposed to staying and taking, say, the advanced college courses and heading your way towards education, because I know education is key in order to grow as a person and open different doors for you, but it is not the end-all be-all. For some people, they will get further in life if they were able to get hands-on experience earlier and start building the foundation of their careers.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, you could have I'm pretty sure they have a nursing program down there.
I believe they do.
Yeah, I don't see anybody like looking down on those nurses, but they'll look down on the automotive technicians and the body men and the craft workers and those guys. I tell you, if you can go out and do some shit like that and not cause any problems in society, then not only are you a good craft worker, but you're a good employer, and that's a hell of a lot more than just, you know, getting to a 9-to-5 job where you work at a desk all day after going to college for years.
That's one thing I've kind of noticed, and it's been said before, that there's a deficit of skilled laborers, craftsmen, actual hands-on manual labor jobs. There's not as many people willing to do those because everyone's gotten pushed into this dream of you go to college, you get the education, you get a high-paying office job.
You're going to get the job.
You're going to get a CEO job eventually, or a upper management job, or an office job where you don't have to work hard with your hands.
People don't realize that you can just do what the hell you want and make money off that if you're really good at it.
Oh yeah, if you're good with it.
Yeah, because you gotta like that thing to start off with, and you just go right in that direction. I mean, people like playing video games. Those people are really passionate.
Yeah,
really passionate. You can make money off of streaming and stuff, and charities and all that.
But you got to walk the fine line, because there's a very fine line between being passionate and obsessed with something. One's healthy, one's not.
You can be healthily obsessed.
There's a very fine line.
Yeah,
that's finer.
A very fine
You're getting
line.
to the razor's edge there. That's a very dangerous tightrope to walk.
Yeah, I know. But I don't know. It's like when I read, I'm almost healthily obsessed because I have so many books. I could get to so far. I'm so healthily obsessed in everything at once that it kind of disperses. So I'm not so focused on one thing at a time.
Yeah, because even with the reading is great and it helps expand your mind, new horizons, new ideas.
Yeah.
But you can become so obsessed and so fixated on the literature that you isolate yourself and kind of lose touch with reality and your interactions. And you find yourself where you have great ideas, wonderful thoughts, different things, but you can't convey them. It's kind of like right now on this podcast where I'm trying to say what I'm thinking, but you can hear me stumbling, bumbling, and not exactly being able to, how do I want to say, describe what I'm thinking.
It's hard to convey words because words are basically our thoughts, and the only way we can think is through words. The communication between the mind and what we speak, I'm really bad at this. People will know, like, I'll text something. I hate texting. Texting is horrible. I text all the time, but it's not the same as face-to-face because facial expressions, body expressions are way more communicative.
Well, yeah, but that's why there was such a boom in, FaceTime and video conferencing.
Even that though, it's a weird thing. It's like this human vibe of being with someone that is just so, it's a pure aspect of it. Like I said, I've had so many messages be just molded when somebody reads them because they don't really understand what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and you can't tell a tone through text.
Definitely. That's what I meant.
You can't tell a tone through text.
Yeah, tone or like if your brain puts an emphasis on one word rather than another, then it can change the meaning of the whole sentence. Like there's been a whole debate on that. Like I don't like that guy or versus I don't like that guy, something like that. Yeah. Something stupid like that. But a text wouldn't, you'd have no idea.
Exactly. It's all up to your own interpretation, and that's where it can lead to problems.
Yeah. So I want to ask you, when I was growing up through high school, kind of a weird spot because there was there was this plethora of Mahoneys coming through the high school. So all the older teachers would know who the hell you guys were. So then I expected all the teachers to know that a Mahoney was coming through the class. So we had this boom of new teachers when there was an expansion on the school. And so I actually got to know those teachers a bit better. And that would almost kind of be what you had, getting to know the teachers with that Mahoney name without the prerequisite of them knowing you.
Well, I had the prerequisite of our cousins, and don't forget, there were our cousins from my dad's brother,
Leo, yeah.
who have Mahoney last name as well.
Yeah, but sometimes they wouldn't recognize it. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, but also they went down the CV Tech route.
That's true.
And when you go down that CV Tech route again, the academic staff in the high school generally doesn't know you as much because you are only there for a fraction of the day. They say it's half, but it's less than that with travel time and everything.
Yeah, it's 30 minutes one way.
Yeah, so you have a very small percentage of time you're actually in the building and they can see and interact with you other than homeroom. Like your homeroom teachers will know you, but that gets switched around and rotated, and not everyone has the same homeroom. So it was a little bit of a blank sheet when I went through, and that really played in with the fact that I was super shy and didn't say a lot. So not a lot of the teachers knew me, but they knew enough, I want to say, of my work, because I think they know students. They see kids come in and out year after year, decade after decade, and you can kind of tell who's trying and who's not, and who's struggling and who's coasting. I was definitely coasting along in neutral. I did not put a lot of work.
That problem.
I knew how to consistently put just enough effort to hold a B average, and that's all I needed. It was good enough to not have to worry about failing anything, and I didn't have to put any hard work in, or as I considered it, wasting my time doing the academics.
Yeah, so when I was in mid-high school, I got into the partying scheme. The fun. So, of course, substances and all that crap, but getting out of high school, it's kind of weird because usually what kids will do is they'll do exactly what I did. Then they'll skip to college. Well, not skip, but they'll go to college, and they'll almost magnify that part of them. And I still hear today, I mean, they're seniors, and I'm only into my third of 6 years. God bless engineering. But you'll see these kids, I can't wait to get back and drink.
Well, yeah, the partying, because their home life, and this is not making this is a sweeping statement, and I don't cast any judgment on this, but there's a lot of families where they're restrictive, or they're not, the kids aren't given as much free reign, and when they get to high school, kind of going to finally being allowed to go out and have friends,
too much freedom.
They go ballistic, and then when they get to college, it's the reins are let off.
Yep.
And they go absolutely bonkers. And then when they get home, they feel like they've just been contained in a cage. They've been caged, and they're not allowed to be who they feel they are. And they have such a good time with their friends and learn and just begin to resent their home life.
Yeah. Too much freedom is a bad thing. That's actually true. Not in the governmental stance or anything stupid like that.
No, but you do need some kind of structure in
your life. It's authoritative. This is my doctrine that I absolutely love. Discipline is a big thing. It's self-discipline. That's what gets me up at 4 a.m. I love to sleep. I'm a lazy asshole, I am. But discipline is what gets you up and what keeps me out of those drugs and all that crap. I'll do it very occasionally. Maybe 8 months between if I go out and have fun or something, go to a party, and I'll just sit there with a glass of water like, man, I know why I stayed away for so long.
Yeah, that's the thing. When you're
I'm the weird guy
on the outside looking in, when you get back into, say, you're with a group and you've been gone for a while and you go back, you're out of that groove, and you've got basically the two choices. You can throw yourself back into the swing of it, or that's
not even you throwing it back in, because all you have to do is choose to maybe get drunk, and then that part of you will just throw you into it.
Yeah, but I mean, that's you choosing to get back into the swing of it, or
that's
you
true.
can decide to reevaluate or just think about where you are and do I want to go back to how I was, or do I want to continue on where I'm going now? And the people I'm going to meet and the people I've previously met.
People always at parties, they're always like, look at that guy. Look at that guy in the corner. He's not doing anything. Or they'll walk over to you and, hey, here's a beer, man. It's so horrible. I hate that. They're trying to pull it out of you.
Well, not just that. The thing is, when you're there and you're not participating in what they're doing, it does make them uncomfortable. they're kind of seeing, they're like, well, does he think he's better than us because he's not drinking and we are?
Oh, yeah. I never really think about these things because I don't give.
You got to think.
I hate to give those people the time of day, as bad as it is. I like their individualism as a person and, their personality maybe.
No, yeah, but
that
party
part of
mob mentality comes out.
I hate that.
And it's where,
Jesus, that's
they think they're having a better time than they are. And it's a very dangerous hole to fall into.
Oh, it's like quicksand more than a hole. There's no drop. Well, I mean, I guess there could be a drop after, but you're down the roller coaster.
Yeah, but some people it's just a drop off. It's just a cliff they fall off of, and it's terrifying to think you don't know when they're going to hit the bottom.
Oh, yeah.
You just see somebody on a downward spiral.
One of the things that I always think of, like, if I ever get, like, depressed or sad or something, is that the bottom is a great groundwork to jump off from, which people don't really think of that as a thing. You can't feel for the bottom until you touch it.
Yeah, but you've also got to think on...
Well, yeah, that could lead to death if you hit the actual bottom or something like that.
Not just that, but you can think this is the worst day of my life, and you can either think it can only go up from here, or worst day so far.
Yeah, what's that song? Worst day since yesterday. Who's that?
Yeah, it's been the worst day since yesterday.
Yeah.
And that's
a good old Irish song.
Yeah, and it's got the lines: "Fallen down to you, sweet ground, where the flowers they bloom. Well, it's there I'll be found."
Yeah.
So
is that death? Is that because I mean your body would decay and make flowers? Would that be a?
It can be a symbol of that. You've got to think.
Symbolism.
Yeah, there's a lot of symbolism in the old
Symbolism's
songs.
great. I do like symbolism. But anyway, going back to when I was talking about when I graduated, what I wanted to ask you is when you graduated, did you just like for that summer? I really like to inspect that first summer after you graduate because that's really where it isn't always that first summer, but for most people it is when you just look around and you go, fuck, who am I? And you think, what the hell am I gonna do? Because this school thing, it's like having a job, and maybe you do have a job at the time and you could go full time into that, but figuring out what you're going to do, because at that point you're 18, you're going to live almost 4 or 5 more lives until you're dead and gone. And of course we don't know what happens after that, but do you remember your thoughts about that time period?
It really wasn't anything too stressful or strenuous for me because I had already in my head made up that I was just the easy routine, the easiest path of least resistance I thought of that point was I was going to just continue in college, get my education degree, get a job at a school somewhere around here, and just kind of work there and float through life for the rest of it. So for me, that summer, it was just... College was starting in the fall, but it was going to be just like high school, but with some new people. I was a little nervous about that, but it felt like a lot of my class was going to the same high school I was.
Yeah, you still lived at home too.
Yeah, so it really didn't feel like a rapid change. It didn't feel like a monumental step in my life. It just felt like the next little click off on the tally mark of this is what you've got to do. You go here, you go here, you go here, you go to elementary, then you go middle school, then high school, and then after high school you go to college, then college you go to graduate school you get a job, you ride out your job for 40, 50 years, then you retire, then you just enjoy your retirement, and then, well, that's the end.
Yeah, there's a lot of people, I hate the word settle. I settled for this. I hate that. No. Never settle. You always got to strive. You always got to strive for what the hell you want. And that's a big thing with me. Like I'll have people where, I don't know if I should do this. The risk reward system. I don't know. Well, it's either all in or all out. Don't just dip your toe in the water. Just jump in. Yeah,
but sometimes you got to settle in order to rest for the next spring forward.
That's true, but that would have to mean that you've been worn yourself thin. And to have worn yourself thin, you would have already known that you can't settle.
Yeah, but if you push yourself, you can't. There's a lot of burnout, and that happens a lot, and especially with this.
The problem is we're only living at like 40% of what we can do. People don't really know their limits. You could right now, I'm thinking 80% of people could probably run 20 miles without any training. You just bring a bottle of water, you could just run. But your mind says, no, this is uncomfortable. I can't do this shit.
Yeah, But you have to also think with people striving and going and pushing themselves past the brinks and past the, not just physically, but say even this podcast. In the world we live in today of a social media craze, there's a lot, you see all these people who have, millions of followers, millions of subscribers, and they're getting quite a bit of notoriety. But say you start doing this and you're going on, and after a month, 2 months, 6 months, you haven't really made a ripple. You only have maybe a couple dozen people who are listening, and you get burned out on that. You don't decide to persevere. I know what you mean.
It's that threshold.
That you get looking for that high reward, high risk, high reward. Well, I did the high risk. Where's my reward? I'm not going to just settle into just doing this for a while and holding still and kind of weathering the storm. I'm just going to move on to something else.
That would be, you know what stoicism is, right? Stoicism, the stoic relations, and basically don't get attached to material things. So that would be the high risk thing, like, shit, I mean, that's going to hurt. It's going to hurt financially. It's going to hurt mentally, physically, everything in all the realms. But that reward, it can be delayed, but you're going to get it as long as you keep risking.
Yeah, but there's a lot of people who are waiting for that instantaneous gratification.
Oh, yeah.
We have the ability to see people who have done amazing things, and it's all the home runs.
Yeah, but you know what? You got to think of it like this. Like this podcast or any musician or anybody that makes content or something like that, maybe you have one follower. Maybe you have one listener. Well, guess what? You have one. And if they are consistent, if you have 0, you change it up. But if you have a consistent one, then you have one. You can change it just a little bit. And if you lose that one, then you got to change it back to the way it was and then change something else. But as long as you have one person listening to what you're doing, you got to be doing something right.
Yeah, I do agree with that.
People don't realize that there's strength in numbers. I could see that from the Sun Tzu Art of War type of thing, but from followers, which aren't really strength in numbers, a follower thing, a backing, it's good to have support because that's great. That's financial status and sociological status. But I mean, as long as you have one person behind you, then, well, actually you have 2 people behind you because you have yourself. People don't realize that.
Well, sometimes they don't even have that.
That's a very big, what do they call that? It's a sociological analysis. It's like when you're doing an autobiography, you have to do an analysis of yourself. Mm-hmm. But people don't realize that you're making your story every day, but people don't look back on the pages and read them and oh, I did that. But they don't think about what they're going to write next.
Yeah.
That's you. That's you back then. That's you now. But it's not, it's not the same.
Yeah, you just have to, you have to focus on more than just the now, but still keep an eye on what's going on around you. You can't be so focused on that goal, so focused on where you're going, that you just lose sight of who you are today. You can't be focused on, I want to hit 1 million subscribers and I want to hit 1 million and just be obsessed with that.
No, that's great. That's great. No, I actually disagree with that. If you're going to focus on, I'm going to get 1 million subscribers, you're going to get 1 million subscribers, but you got to be on that for a decade.
Yeah, you've got to focus on that, but you can't be so focused on
tunnel vision
where you lose sight of everything else in your life. I mean, yes, you will get your 1 million subscribers, but it will be a hollow victory. Because, yes, now you have that.
I like that.
But you've lost relations in person with people. Yes, you have people who have come on, who have talked to you, who you get to meet and be, kind of face value friends with. You shoot a couple messages, you talk from time to time, but at the end of the day, you don't have anyone who you can really confide in or that you really feel comfortable that they know you. You wind up kind of surrounding yourself with empty friends.
Yeah, true friends instead of, what are they called? Acquaintances.
Yeah. It's amazing. People are more worried, and I hate to say it, but the friends button on Facebook, it's not really friends usually.
Yeah, I have a lot of people I don't know on there.
It's a lot of acquaintances. People are just obsessed with that number.
Oh,
they
I hate
just
that.
want and I know Facebook is dying off now. It's not as prevalent as it once was.
Well, it's any social media. Instagram, you're not on Instagram, but no. Instagram specifically, I'll tell you right now, all you do is you hit a follow button. And even if they have a private account, you have to wait for them to accept it. But you just follow anyone. It's not even asking for the friend request like you do on Facebook. There's no really declination of having somebody following you unless you have a private account.
And
so
that's where
it's nothing.
As the old saying goes, people are more focused on quantity than quality.
Yeah,
And
yeah. No,
that's
the people that are going to be listening to this, most of them are going to be my close friends. So you'll know that if you're listening to this right now. So those people are a very small group, probably a lot less than 10. And they'll know me because I wake up at 4 a.m. every morning, but I'll stay up until 4 a.m. with them, and they're the only people I'll do that for.
Yeah.
And have those really nice conversations.
Yeah, there's a very small group of people who you can feel comfortable with. And when you reach that level of comfort, which can only be gained by time, quality actual time, not face value, I've seen you at a dozen parties and we've talked for 20 minutes, an hour at a time at these parties. That is a start, but you haven't really in that type of setting got to know somebody as much as, say, if you got some actual quality one-on-one time, or even in a group of 3 or 4 people, a very small group, you get to know each other a lot better.
Yeah, it's nice when you have a group of people and you're trying to introduce a new friend to them, and they're already your true friends, maybe 2 or 3 other guys. And if they reject that one person, you should stay the hell away from them.
Yeah, because generally, if you have that small group of people, they know you, and they can also look at someone or look at a situation without the bias or tint that you bring to it. Because say you did like this person and you really want them to work, you want them to be a good friend, but your friends are looking at the same person going, they're not who you think they are. You're looking at them through rose-colored glasses.
Yeah, I was thinking just briefly, because my mind races all the time. Again, back to Dr. Peterson, one of his things was a true friend, when you tell them something bad, they'll be truly sad, and they won't tell you something worse that has happened to them. And if you tell them something good, they'll celebrate it with you. And alongside that, a true friend wants the best in you that brings the best about you, which isn't particularly wanting the best for you. It's wanting the best that brings out the best in you, which that part of you, which people don't even realize is a part, I see it all the time. It's quite sad. But when they figure that out, they really start to... It's like, I have a friend, Elijah. He'll probably be listening to this. He is a strong believer in magnetism. You will just naturally attract the people around you as long as you're very cemented in who you are.
Yeah.
I love that philosophy.
You've got a big part of who you are is who you surround yourself with. And what you put out is what you draw towards you.
Oh, I like that.
So you've got to...
So, yeah, I was going to ask you, so your philosophical views of maybe... I'll give you an example of like turmoil, maybe. Maybe you had financial problems or just problems in your life. How would you deal with that? What would be your general thinking? Because I can tell you, I'll start with mine. With me, if I have a problem, a very big problem, I will psychologically remove myself from the situation. I'll step back from myself and look at the emotions that are happening, because I'm very emotionless most of the time. That's because I'll remove myself from the situation and think on it, like, why the hell am I feeling that way? Because there's no such thing as wrong feelings. That's not a thing. You feel one way, and that's how it is. But if you don't let that feeling control you, you can step back and think, why am I angry? And then also I see the enemy part inside of myself, which resonates with the person I'm mad at. Why are they thinking that way? So I'll step away from myself, walk around, psychologically to the other person, think what they're thinking. If I'm in an argument, that's one of the problems, I guess I could say.
I don't know, like if we're talking like if I'm having an actual argument or a problem with somebody.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we'll start with that.
If that's the case, I wear my heart on my sleeve. Emotions definitely rule my thinking, but I try to use some rationality. But basically, I'll go with my gut. I try to see where their standpoint is. But
You're a very moral person, though. I mean, I'll tell you that right now. You're one of the most moral people I know. You know, you'll go out and you're definitely right. You're the heart guy. You know, you're caring. I'll tell you that. You'll definitely know I'm more stone cold than you are.
oh yeah, yeah. No, you're stone cold.
Yeah.
You're a rock. You're a stone cold hearted bitch.
Yeah, maybe a little too much sometimes.
Yeah, and that's where that honestly causes some
People think
strife and problems.
Yeah, people think I'm cold, but what I'm really doing is I'm just stopping and thinking. But I do it with a straight face, so you think I'm mad at you or something. Like, no, I'm just talking to myself.
The problem is you have a very, how should I say, stern, unpleasant, agitated-looking resting face, especially when you're contemplating, and you just look like you've stepped in dog dew all the time, and you give off an aura like a prickly hedgehog.
Yeah,
or
well,
porcupine. It's very hard to approach you.
Yeah, well, I will let the anger control me when I'm disrupted in my thought. If I'm in a very deep stasis, it'll be really weird because I can be talking to somebody and I'll be in that stasis, or I'll be doing something. Because I can separate those things. It's almost like multitasking, but I can be thinking as I'm doing things that I'm used to, like at work. I'll look like I'm the angriest person you can ever talk to, but if a customer walks in and asks me a question, I'll be, I'll help them out. I work maintenance, but
but the problem is you have that same angry, wrestling, unapproachable look when you're at home, and that's what causes the biggest amount. Yes, I'm throwing you under the bus live as we go right now.
These tire tracks hurt, I tell you.
Yeah, well, hey, that's how I became a mechanic. I spent so much time under these buses I was thrown. So
got used to the underside, huh?
As I say, roll with the punches.
Yes.
Or roll down the road. You've got to, how do I say? You've got to put on the facade even when you're in that state of friendliness. Or not even a facade. You have to be approachable.
You're talking about me?
Yeah, or people in general.
Well, yeah, because I was asking about your philosophy more than about me.
Oh, well, with my philosophy.
Because you said heart on the sleeve. That's what you started with.
Yeah, I wear my heart on my sleeve. And generally, I don't, like the old saying, the safest you can be is to not have any enemies. And
I agree with that, yeah.
I know personally, it sounds petty and spineless, but I don't like people disliking me. I'd rather be your friend. I'd rather get to know you.
Can you feel it? Like if you were to leave a conversation angry?
Yeah, I couldn't. It would, I may react instantly hard on my sleeve, but the guilt instantly gets me. I am very easily...
It's that Catholic guilt.
It's that Catholic guilt. Well, as easily...
Mom says, that Catholic guilt.
Yeah. Well, I am very easily guilted. I constantly blame myself for whatever the situation is.
Well, yeah, I'll see you turn right around after you yell at me.
Yeah.
Which I'm fine with. I mean, it takes the gonads to do that. People don't do that. Like, I'm the same way, actually. You probably don't know that. If I leave a conversation, somebody's angry at me, there's something in me that is kind of twisting, tearing. So I'll usually go back to them.
Yeah, well, I always think, how would I feel if I had just gotten yelled at, or if I had just gotten in an argument?
Then you have the same philosophy as me, kind of.
It's the old adage, treat others as you wish to be treated. And I think that the biggest way you can change the way the world is by changing yourself.
You know what that injunction is, right? The treat others the way you want to be treated. That was our golden rule of NAC. I don't know if they had that back when you were in there, but
we didn't have any.
Yeah, that's kind of their mantra, if you'd say. They kind of use that. They had a different one when we were in school.
Yeah, and it's a good philosophy, but the thing is, like people say, why would I hold the door for them? Nobody holds the door for me. Well, if you hold the door for them, maybe they'll hold the door for someone else.
Or the next door for you.
And you can't go through it that way. You can't go in looking for what is it going to come back to benefit me.
Yeah.
If you worry about, are they going to hold the door for me, or maybe they will, and you go in with that expectation that there will be some reward for you, that's where you're going to get burned out and bitter, because you're not going to see that return. You're not going to see, and you're going to be hopeful. It's like waiting for, someone to give you a compliment and they don't. you show up with a new shirt or a new outfit or a haircut, and you're waiting for that
definitely.
compliment and you get nothing, and it's nothing big, but it's the little bummers. But it's just like with the only way you make progress is by small steps. The biggest way you get brought down is by the little nicks that eat away at you.
Yeah, what I was going to say about the injunction of the golden rule would be that it's actually, I'm pretty sure it was Carl Jung. I'm pretty sure, I can't remember. But it's not just treating others how you want to be treated. It's figuring out how you would want to be treated in the universe. Because that's step one. People don't know how they want to be treated. People always think, oh, I want to be treated nice. I want to be treated like a god and great. And yeah, but the problem is they've done psychological experiments where if you put people in a room with everything they ever needed and they ate cake all day and they just laid and watched TV, I think it's after about 30 hours they end up smashing everything up and destroying it because they want some destruction and chaos in their world so they can remember how to, or not remember, so that they can figure out how to fix it.
Well, yeah, and you become numb to things. It's, like we say, it's the same thing that humanity has a problem with since the dawn of time. Too much of a good thing is a bad thing. And you can't
It's
enjoy...
like that sweet soda that you drink every day. It's going to kill you.
Oh, yeah, I'm black on the inside. I'm just rotten on the inside. No, you'd never know the sweetness of a cake if you never tasted the bitterness of a lemon.
Oh, that's a good one. I haven't heard that.
Oh, that's just.
Oh,
yeah.
that's off the noggin.
That's off the
That's
noggin.
a good. Well, yeah, I guess for lemon cake that'd be really good.
Yeah, but
That's like it makes me think of like in a relationship. If you don't argue and have disagreements and it's hoity-toity all great all the time, then how are you going to mold that into something you're going to have forever? Because if you don't embed your relationship in the truth, which I've had a lot of people come to me and ask me about that, but if you don't embed it in the truth, then, you're not going to argue and figure out, and you're just going to be lying to her or him and then also lying to yourself.
Well, it's like I was saying earlier about there are no black and whites. If everything was pure, if everything, say, to do the classic, if good was white, if having a great time, perfect everything was white, it would get so bland and boring. You would want a change of shade. You would want some dark in there. You would want some gray. You would want some black. Something to break up the monotony of just the pure white.
Yeah, it's a light in the darkness. For the listeners, you should definitely investigate C.G. Jung's idea of the shadow within the self. He has a great take on humanity's. It's basically the tree of life. Life has roots down to hell, and I love that. And we're reaching for heaven just like how trees grow, but our roots are growing down to hell. And that's where we get our nutrients, where we live from. And I think that's a great, great symbol that people should really know. But nobody ever wants to be, oh, I'm the bad guy.
Or, no, there are those that just want to be the bad guy. But not
definitely. But I'm talking about generally.
Yeah.
If you want to be a good person.
Well, yeah, and you never want to be in the wrong. That's why people have such a hard time admitting they're wrong, because they don't want to be in the wrong and being the one causing the problem.
Nobody
you
says
are
I
now
don't
the
know.
antagonist.
Nobody says I don't know anymore. I hate that. If you don't know, just say you don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But at the same point, people don't want to be looked down on like they're uneducated or that they're, because people will take on a tone if they ask you, oh, have you heard of da da da? And if you say no, oh, you didn't know that? Well, that's actually, and then they talk down to him like you've got the IQ of a shoe. And a lot of people are worried about that. They don't like that reaction. So they'd rather just put the wall up. Yeah, I heard of that. And I've done that myself. If I don't want to deal with the
I don't do that
repercussions
anymore so much.
If I don't want to deal with the repercussions of having somebody, if I know the person or the tone or what's going on where I'll actually be taught something, like they're willing to explain it to me if I don't understand, then yes. But I'll put up the wall of, yeah, I heard of that. If I know it's just going to be a condescending discussion and they're just going to talk down to me. I know you're very big about that. You don't like people talking down to you.
Oh, I pointed it out today to somebody that I won't mention, but I said, hey, you talking down to me?
They weren't really.
No, but it felt
You
like
were,
it.
yeah, you were up on guard way too quick in that
Oh yeah,
conversation.
I'll be on guard definitely.
Yeah, you are
it's
way.
because, well, it's
You put the shields up way too quick.
yeah,
And if
because
you put the
well,
shield up, you can't see what's ahead of you.
it's self-defense, honestly. Because
Yeah.
I've been doing a lot of physical self-defense, as you know. So the
Yeah.
mental self-defense comes with it.
Yeah, well, it's a little too quick acting.
Yeah.
That's a little too much of a hair trigger there. You need to wind her back a little bit. You need to just
hear this therapy session going on here.
yeah, pretty much. That's what it's turned into. It went in from a podcasty interview to therapy for Casey's problems.
Yeah, yeah. But anyway, so do you have any other philosophical views that you'd like to get out there that maybe you'd like to explain, or no, not really?
Not at the moment. I mean, it's pretty much as things pop into my and bubble up to the top of the brain, I'd say them. But my general philosophy in life and how I live life is I try to make as many people happy as I can, help as many people as possible, and just generally be that corny, fairy tale hero. Try to live life like the protagonist of your favorite story.
Oh yeah, that's what Joe Rogan says. Joe Rogan, one of my favorite quotes by him is, "Be the hero in your own story."
Yeah.
So pretend like there's a camera crew watching you, and they started recording today, and this was your comeback story.
Yeah. Be the hero in your own. I agree completely with that, and don't
Yeah.
be a background character of your own life.
Oh, that's a big one. People will do that. That's
There's
big
so many
one.
people and don't live through someone else.
Oh yeah.
Which is, I mean, what are we doing right now? We're allowing people to kind of listen and live through us or what we're doing.
yeah, but you can put yourself in other shoes to learn.
Oh, yeah.
How the hell are you gonna learn?
But you can't depend on someone else to live your life for you.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't ground yourself and figure out who you are, somebody's gonna tell you who you are, and
Yeah.
then you become a puppet, like Pinocchio.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyways, I wanted to talk to you about your projects. We talked about hobbies a little bit. We dabbled in it. And I said we were going to talk about projects.
We brushed by that.
Oh,
we
yeah.
missed.
I know.
We missed that intersection. We blew right past that red light,
Oh.
and we headed down the highway of philosophy.
I love philosophy.
I know that is
This podcast is going to be pretty bad for philosophy. 'Cause
it's
great.
like a giant magnet that draws you to it every chance you get, and that's a good thing.
The moth.
Yeah, you are a moth to the flame of philosophy.
It's like you to cars, or Sean to conspiracy theories.
Oh yeah,
That's
that
our
would
other
be-
brother.
that would be one of our. That would be a good future episode, I think.
That would be a great one.
I
He's very. I love his conspiracy theories.
They're hilarious.
Like we just got one the other day in our family chat of the Mothman is back.
Mothman is back.
The Mothman is back. Better watch out for him. He's got big wings and red eyes.
Bringer of destruction, foreteller of calamity. Beware the Mothman.
Yeah, apparently he was there before a bridge collapsed and a bunch of people died.
Buildings and car accidents and other natural disasters that otherwise could have been prevented if not for the
the
interference of
Mothman.
Mothman.
Yeah. But anyways, so I know one of your big things is swords. Definitely. We have, and over the years, we've accumulated this corner of swords where we laid upon the wall have been, I don't know, katanas and Bowie knives and World War II, those trench knives. I love that thing. But anyway, go into that a little bit. What inspired you? I know maybe from games when you were younger, you definitely like the combat style and also history, probably maybe.
I honestly, as odd as it is, I cannot give you a definite origin of what my attraction or
Wait, how young do you think it was when you started?
oh,
Maybe how about when was the first time you bought a sword?
I bought.
Not like under your name, but like paid for the parents to buy, or they got you one or something.
Oh, I must have been 12.
Oh
10,
my!
12.
I was expecting 15. Wow.
No, I was really young. The first one
Whew.
was a Shamshir, and they bought it in Warrensburg, which is this big town-wide sale that's held a little downstate, a couple hours south of us, and
God
they had
bless
picked
Warrensburg.
it up, and I had before that I liked the plastic swords at like the fair, the little crappy ones, and
The
making stick
lightsabers.
swords, the lightsabers, the night swords that are made of this weird
He-Man,
rubber
I have
plastic.
the power.
Exactly. And so they had bought this for me, and it was a cheap rat tail wall hanger made of stainless, and I mean it was atrocious, but it was very pretty.
It was a sword, and you
And
were
it
12.
was. So I went out, and this was the odd thing. My parents weren't one to have me go to friends' houses. I never really went to any friends' house. They didn't want to drive me anywhere like that because if I went there, they would have to come to our house and spend the night, and my parents preferred if they didn't because we had customer cars and
Well, yeah,
a lot
for
of
people that don't,
traffic.
yeah, for the people that don't know, our business is run directly next to our house, so there's a bunch of people in and out all the time. So it's kind of weird the way we live.
Yeah, I've kind of grown up in a privately public area.
Yeah, that's it.
And it's kind of all of that. So my parents are much more comfortable with me going out to the woods because we have acres and acres of land and just go explore out there. So I slowly but surely started learning as much as I can. I mean, this was pre-computer for us, pre-internet.
Wait, what? When were you 12? What year was that?
Oh.
When were you born?
Let's see. That would be...
When were you born? Just tell me that.
That'd be 04 would be when I was 12. I was born in 92.
Oh. 2004. That's kind of, what is that, Windows XP era?
Oh, yeah, something. And it was even before that
Windows
for
98,
us.
something like
Even
that.
before that
yeah,
for us.
we have, oh my God, our internet's horrible. It's still, we just got fiber optics, was holy crap.
Oh, yeah, it's a great leap forward. But this was, I mean, we didn't have anything like that. So, I mean, there were some magazines like Bud K or any of like the flea market magazines that would come through, or these really chintzy things that I would get. And I would just read as much as I could. I liked looking at history books and stuff like that. And I just, when we finally started when we got the internet, is when I really started looking up pictures of swords, and I'd watch cartoons with swordsmen, and I thought they were cool and all this, and Sinbad, the actual live action series from way back.
None of that Paul Bunyan stuff.
Yeah.
Big axe. That was one of my favorites when I was a kid.
Oh, yeah. And
63
then
axe angles high.
oh, yeah, his feet on the ground, his head in the sky.
Yeah, I had to say it.
And no, I would take them out and and this makes a lot of sword aficionados and people in the society cringe. I would go whack on trees because in the anime and in a lot of the cartoons, they would, cut a tree in a single strike. And I thought that you could do that. And that it was, just as feasible to cut a tree in half with a sword as it was with an axe or a chainsaw. So I would go out and do that. And just as time went on and progressed, I started working, making money. I would read Sword Buyer's Guide, an online website I used to frequent, and YouTube was starting.
We had videos too, didn't we?
A few videos, and it wasn't even YouTube. It was just random video websites I would find with reviews of swords and stuff.
YouTube
and
wasn't even a big thing then, was it?
No, got the Cold Steel magazine to come in, came with a free disc. And
that was it. That was what I was thinking of, the disc that it came with. They would cut meat.
Yeah, they'd cut a bunch of meat and stuff, and you just watch that, and it was so cool. And I was like, wow. And but as another note, which is funny, is even though you'd think sword knife collector, watching them cut meat and stuff, I'm probably some kind of sociopath or something. I'm an extreme pacifist, and I couldn't kill to save my life almost. I mean,
what about animals?
I'm bad. I can't really kill
like
an
a
animal.
deer.
Nah, I don't. I mean, if it came down to survival, I probably could, but I don't go out of my way to hurt any animals.
See, I could do bow hunting.
I mean, if I get the chance, I'd rather grab a fly and throw it out the window than kill it.
Wow. Yeah, no, I'm the same way, but only in terms of if it's suffering. Like if I see a fly flopping around almost dead, I'll smack it so it dies.
Yeah.
That's kind of weird for me, but I'll kill something. Like I said, I could do bow hunting or normal hunting. I could do, but I'm just not a big gun guy.
Our family's not big into firearms. Like our particular family, like our extended more like cousins and uncles and that, they're bigger into firearms, and some of them are really big into it and really enjoy it. But that just hasn't been the way we were raised. I mean, we have acres and acres of land, but we don't hunt, we don't fish, we don't do any of that. And it really, in this area, is very odd because it's hunting and outdoor recreation like that is such a staple of our area, and yet we don't participate in that, which is a bit odd for some people to wrap their heads around.
Yeah. So, yeah, talk about the knives a little bit. Like what would be your ideal what do they call that? Form of a knife? Would it be like a I don't know, a sword
The
or a
thing
knife?
is, there's so many different variances. Uh, Trust me, when you go past the tip of the iceberg, there are so many different forms,
It's
shapes,
like cars.
sizes. Yeah, there's, they, as the saying goes, different strokes for different folks, and everyone has their own flavor.
What about you?
I
Can't
haven't.
choose?
I couldn't choose. I
No.
like so many different things and so many different styles that I couldn't.
Cement yourself in
Yeah,
one.
like I've always loved Bowie knives. I've always loved kukris. I've always loved um, Chinese Dao, and I've loved katana and Scottish claymore and bastard swords, broadswords.
Claymores
Haven't
are
been
cool.
haven't been much of a rapier guy.
Those are hard to use though. That's more of a straightforward, right?
Well, that's more thrusting. There are cuts, there are different techniques, but it's just their form has never. They're very intricate and delicate, but I don't know. They feel. I know they're not, but they just looked more delicate
Because
for
they're
what.
thinner. They're very small.
And for
aren't
what
they?
I was doing when I was younger, I was looking for. I should have honestly just gotten an axe, but it was big slabs of meat to cut trees down, and it was always what would be best for that, and that's not what they're designed for. Nowhere close. I mean, if I got
Yeah.
tatami mats, that's one thing, but just going out to a maple tree and trying to cut it in half is not the brightest idea I've ever had in my life.
Yeah, because you would go out in the woods and you just start cutting stuff.
Yeah, I just cut whatever. I'd be out for hours and hours on end. I mean, that was a lot
It's good
of
stress relief.
Oh yeah,
Because
but
those are those puberty years.
yeah, that's what I spent a lot of my time. Like at that point in my life, I wasn't into cars. They're a big part of my life now, a huge part. But when I was younger, I had no interest in cars because our dad was so into cars. I was kind of overexposed and sick of it.
Rebellious, yeah.
Rebellious. I had no interest in them. They were just out there. There was something just taking up space. I didn't really care. I was into video games. I was into history.
Could you imagine having a kid like that? Not liking cars. Oh man.
Yeah.
No, I'm joking, but
Yeah, no. For Dad, I'm sure it was probably pretty. I don't want to say depressing, but I'm sure it was a little bit disappointing that he couldn't share his passion.
Well, luckily I was there.
Yeah, luckily, well, you came along a little bit later.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, no, but you weren't into cars until what? 20? 18?
I'd say around 18 or 19 because it wasn't until Dad dragged me kicking and screaming, as it were, into restoring my first real car. I mean,
actually, we'll just we'll go into our next hobby already because we're going right into cars.
yeah, I've got a few other hobbies I could talk about. Like I practice the ocarina here because I enjoy playing an instrument. It's an easy one to pick up and learn for me. Our family's been very musical. I enjoy just playing a tune, but I'm very when I first got it, I kind of showed it off to a couple of my friends, but I pretty much am very private with it. Like I'm sure
It's like the bass.
I was gonna say, yeah.
Yeah.
I play that, but I don't publicly do that. I just play a little bit when I have time. I'm just with my music. I'm very private. I just
Me
do
too,
it for my
yeah.
own release.
I only played in high school band. I played the clarinet, the sax, and the guitar.
Oh yeah, well
I only
then,
play this privately now.
oh yeah, well I haven't touched the trumpet in a few years now. Years actually.
Oh yeah, because you played trumpet. I
Yeah.
actually I told you I got a venue, right? Invitation to play at a venue.
Really?
Yeah, but to play saxophone, but I don't know. It was at a chemistry venue, and I don't know if I'll do it. I'll have to see. Because
That'd be
I think
interesting.
I'm pretty sure the invitation's still open. It was supposed to be last year, but I'm pretty sure it's a reoccurring event.
Well, you don't know now with the
Yeah. Well, I mean,
the
if they
climate
have
of
it
today.
Yeah, I know, but if they have it next year, I don't know if I'm gonna do it.
But yeah, no, I mean, I'm sure I'll be back on it. We'll talk hobbies and other stuff again. But the big defining aspect of my life, as it were, now is cars, automotive.
Yeah. So talk about that. Your first car.
Okay, so my
Kicking and screaming.
yeah, well, my first car was a 1993 Plymouth Acclaim.
Well, that wasn't really your car because you didn't buy it.
Well, technically that was the first car I was driving.
Oh, okay.
And Mom and Dad kind of let me use that car, gave it to me to use. I mean, it was in their name, their insurance, everything like that. But I could
inline for 3.0. or the
No. It's a 2.5 inline 4.
2.5?
Yeah. Timing belt.
Front wheel drive.
Yeah, front wheel drive.
It's a 4-door. If you look them up,
speed. They make a whopping like 98 horsepower.
Fun little car though. And
they
get everything for gas mileage. What do they probably get, like 20 something?
Mom was getting 28 with hers.
Wow. Because I drove one for a while too.
Yeah, you had the 3.0 V6 Mitsubishi designed.
I kicked ass in that.
Yeah, Sean still complains about you beat the hell out of that car, and that's why it died.
Yeah, well,
he blames you.
Yeah, he blames everybody but himself.
Oh yeah, he overloaded that car. That was the big problem. The transmission
I'll
finally
say that.
went, and he just had a lot of stuff in it. He has a lot of stuff in his cars.
Just to cover my ass, I'll say that.
Yeah. Hey, as many people who are listening who have siblings will know, you throw your siblings under the bus at any chance.
Oh yeah, you heard the wheels coming over me earlier.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So anyway,
they'll be back.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure they will. Anyway, so kicking and screaming to the junkyard.
Well, no, it was actually
no.
Dad had got the call from a guy up in our area, Andy Arnold, who runs a junkyard, and he called Dad and he said, "I've got a little car here that's too nice to crush. What do you have to trade?"
After putting the forks through it.
Well, he had put it actually inside the car crusher, shut the machine down, looked at it, and took it back out and called Dad, which was very uncharacteristic of Andy. He's crushed a lot of stuff, but he's starting to get a little older and a little more sentimental about things. He's trying to save
this
older
was back
stuff.
In 2010?
Oh, when it arrived would actually be right, ironically, when I was 16.
What year was that?
Oh, God, that's math. Not my strong suit.
16
that's
from 94?
Yeah. Yeah, let's see you there, Mr. Mathman. It's like 08.
2000, yeah, that's 2010.
No, 08.
08. From 94?
No, 92.
92. Sorry. I said 94. You said yeah.
I wasn't listening. I was doing my own mental math. Anyway.
So 08. Yeah, no, that 2008, a 1965 coming up. Even now, that's crazy. But back then, it was also crazy because that's an old car.
Yeah, it was
a 43-year-old car.
Yeah, so ironically, when I turned 16 of driving age, this car just made its way to our house.
With an engine.
Somehow she found her way home. Describe the car. It's a 1965 Plymouth Barracuda with, at the time when it first started life, she had a 225 slant 6 with a 904 automatic 3-speed transmission and a 7 1/4 rear end with
limited slip.
No. Open rear end, one tire fryer.
So, a slant 6 is basically an inline 6 engine tilted 30 degrees from Chrysler. It's a big, long thing. It has one head. It's very weird for an old car.
Well, no, not too weird. They had a lot.
Well, there's a lot of them, but there's no other inline engines for the muscle cars.
Oh, no. Ford had their 300 and GM
but
had
inline
their 6? Yeah, inline 6s. There were a lot of inline 6s back in the day. It was actually very common.
You know more.
the slant 6 was different because of the slant, and it got a reputation for being very strong and robust because that engine, when it was designed to be cast from aluminum, but they couldn't get the casting process down right, so they changed and went to cast iron, which is a stronger material, but you can reduce the amount of mass you need and still have the strength, but they didn't change any of the measurements or specifications. So it was poured like it was supposed to be from aluminum. So you have the size of what would have been the aluminum now with a heavier, stronger material. So the things weigh a ton and last forever.
Yeah.
Now, I forget who the reviewer was. Someone was going on after the Black Death of the universe, the heat death. There'll be a 61 slant 6 Valiant still driving out into the cosmos. The engine still putting along.
With the rockers rusted.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, rocker and the gas cap missing.
Oh, yeah. So it's a 65. It's a fastback car. It's got this huge glass back. And
it's like a hatchback.
For any of you who want to look up a 1965 Plymouth Barracuda, you can see the odd proportions of the vehicle. It's a very beautiful car. It's my favorite car. But that's only because I've spent so much time with it, and it's become so much of who I am.
Yeah, you didn't fish that out. Like, you didn't look for a 65 Barracuda.
No, I didn't go searching for a
Fish
car. I wasn't interested in cars, but Dad had it. It was sitting for a couple years, and then he decided to bring it and then put it up on the lift on the garage. He had thrown a battery in it, dumped a little gas in the carburetor. It started right up, and he picked it up, and it had good bones. The cross member was good. The torsion bar mounts were good.
By good bones, he means no rust.
It wasn't all rotted. There was rust,
Yeah.
but it wasn't rot.
Yeah, rot and rust are two different things. Rust is like, it's the oxidized metal. It's the iron oxidizing. So it's basically, well, you know what rust looks like, but rot is when there's just holes in the frame and
And it's
like,
just,
yeah,
you
it's
can
horrible.
you can tell how severe the rust is based upon the color. If you see a very light cardboard brown, that's the starting of rusting, and
Patina.
it gets deeper and darker. And rot is when you look at a piece of metal and you see the black, and it's flaky, and it looks like it's all splitting apart,
Or
kind
nothing's
of like
there.
a book. If you see a book after it's been through a fire, and the pages, you can see how they open up and they're spreading. That's what rotting metal will look like.
Yeah, that's true. Never thought of it that way.
So he decided that would be my project. I kind of didn't have a lot of direction in my life at that point, and I think he kind of decided he wanted to get to know me, and that would be my project.
Yeah, well, going back to that, silent in the father speaks in the son. Dad isn't much of a. He's not going to ask you what the hell you want to do. He's like, we're doing this today.
Yeah,
It's like, okay.
He's a teller, not an asker. He definitely is. That's
But it's
how-
good because it's like, there's no maybe this, maybe that. I might do that. He has that discipline, but he's telling you. He's not asking. He's like, we're going to work on this.
Yeah, it was, we're doing this today, we're doing that today. So kicking and screaming, he dragged me into it. We put floor pans in that. I put carpet in it. I put the headliner in it. In fact, the headliner was one of the big turning points for me because at the time, I resented him for making me put that headliner in. At that point, my friends were going to Titus Mountain to go skiing, and I wanted to go with them. And he told me, you're not going
remember this.
skiing. You're going to put the headliner in your car today. And I did not want to do that. I was all pissed off and moody and being just a teenager and an ungrateful little brat. That's what I was, an ungrateful little brat. So I put that headliner in, and I mean, at the time when they got back, my friends told me, they had fun. They were the only ones on the mountain. But thinking back on it now, they were just frozen. It was a bitter cold night. It was just not a lot of fun. And I mean, I'm looking back, I'm very glad that I put that headliner in and spent that time with Dad.
Is it still in the car?
Yeah.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, that's a headliner. It's a red headliner. It's a, so my car is like a salmon champagne pink.
It's pink.
It's pink. It's a pink car with
It's
red
faded.
interior.
Yeah, it's actually the real color of the car. You'd think you'd be like, oh yeah, it's just a red that's been faded over time. No, that car it's not a hot pink. It's like this faded pink.
Like
it's
a
kind of
champagne
weird.
silvery pink. It's
Yeah.
a very odd color. And over the year, when I first started, I wanted to get the car painted. I went and had got a quote to have it painted, and the guy told me $9,500 to paint the car.
Which is nothing now.
And I went, okay, I can't afford that at 20. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to just keep working on this. And I did all the brake lines, all the drivetrain. In fact, we switched the engine out to another one. We had another slant six because Dad figured if I ever got into the whole numbers matching, and he goes, you're young, you're going to want to start, because I was getting into drag racing.
Numbers matching is the engine that is date coded with the car.
Yes, all the numbers will match up. Numbers matching. There's a date and VIN code on the car. There's a date code on the engine, transmission.
Yeah, once you blow that
drivetrain.
engine up, you're never going to get a numbers matching again.
Not the original. You can get
Yeah.
one that came from a 65 Barracuda, but not that 65 Barracuda.
Yeah.
So we had swapped that out, and I had put in another 904 with an automatic with a manual valve body, which means it's an automatic transmission. There's no clutch, but you manually shift the gears. So when you come to a stop sign and you're in third gear, if you don't put it back down to first gear, you're taking off in third, and it'll lug and chug and not be happy with you.
That was a 3-speed automatic.
Yep, three-speed automatic with a manual
was
valve
that the
body.
slap shift?
That was the slap shift.
Slap shift.
Oh yeah, it was a ratcheting shifter. So to shift it, you could push it down, move it back into reverse, then you'd pull it back into neutral, then push it down, and then you'd push it back into drive, which would be first gear, and then it would ratchet back up, and you'd slap it, and it'd spring back and then back forward, and that would go to the next gear. So you just slapped it to go in between.
Yeah, all that gobbledygook, you basically saying once you put it in gear, you slap it backwards, it goes into the next gear.
Yeah, and then
slap,
you gotta
slap.
Yeah, but then I didn't have the linkage right because I was young and learning about this, so I had to overshoot to downshift. So I would have to slap towards the front of the car twice and then back once to catch the gear.
So you're slapping a lot.
So it was a lot. It was very entertaining, and all my friends still poke at me for this shifter I used to have in my car. They're like, remember you used to just slap the hell out of it and hope for a gear? I was like, I knew what I was doing. Y'all can bite me.
Hey, I mean, you got out of...
Oh, yeah.
You could do donuts in that car. I mean, shit.
Oh, yeah. Well, not at that time.
No, but yeah.
So fast forward, we're working on that car. I'm in college now, and it was the final semester of Clinton Community College when the car was ready to be on the road and I could drive it, because I remember driving it to finals week, and that was my first time driving the car.
First year?
No, that must have been my second year. That was my last year. Yeah, that was my last year there, because I had shown a couple friends, and someone who I miss very much had left me a note about the car and had talked to me about it a little bit, and had poked me about this abomination of a rust bucket you call a car. And yeah, that was one of the last times I really got to hang out with them. And after that, I started driving the car more. Dad started taking me. We'd go to some of the car shows. I started going to the drag strip a little bit. I started just getting to meet more people with cars and old cars, and I drove it everywhere. I drove the wheels off this thing. I mean, Dad was getting stories from his customers of, I saw this little pink car over in Peru, or I saw this pink car in Au Sable, or I saw this pink car.
Yeah, because you would just drive the roads just to drive the roads back then.
Oh, yeah. I would drive...
You're not going anywhere.
Hours just to drive. I found so many... That car spent almost more time off-road than on-road, because I would find these seasonal roads which go from pavement to gravel, gravel to dirt, dirt to grass.
Yeah.
And you're out in a four-wheeler path with the 65 Barracuda just burbling along going, I am so out of my element.
Yeah, it sounds like a tractor underwater, the Slant Six.
It's a very odd sound. And so a few years later, I started getting into more of the drag racing. I went for my first race to actually be there. And
this was at Naperville?
This was up at Naperville.
Yeah, Naperville is basically, sorry to interrupt you.
No,
this is a track up in Canada. It's about 40 minutes away from us. It's it's the Ville. So it's a dual lane. It's actually a quad lane, but two of the lanes don't have a tree, which a tree is basically your light setups. So
yeah, the yellow, green. But we don't know exactly what's going, because we haven't been up there lately with everything, and even before that, COVID, and we just didn't get into the racing as much. But I went up for my first night. I had washed the car before, and I was all proud as a peacock going there. And I got up to the line, and I went to take off, and a little bit of water had gotten under a plug wire or something, and it had a misfire partway down the track. It was farting and sputtering, and it just wasn't happy. I had washed the engine bay even, which was a very stupid idea. Dad told me not to. I did it anyway, because what does he know? He's only worked on cars for 3 times my lifespan. And so I got back in line. I was embarrassed. Dad's like, don't worry, you can try again. Well, as a backstory, back it up a little bit. The whole time Dad and I have been fighting with this transmission, there's been a small leak somewhere on it.
Well, you didn't say you changed the transmission in that car, right? Or is this before that?
This was with the automatic. When I had switched to the later same Slant Six with the automatic, that automatic had a small leak somewhere, and we could not find it. It must have been a hairline crack in the bell housing somewhere. So it would be a little wet and greasy looking. It didn't really drip, but it always was a little bit wet.
It would be like condensation almost?
Yeah, kind of. Or just like a condensation, not quite to the dripping point. But so at that event, at that night, someone was on the track and they were leaking gear oil or something onto the track. And that's a big no-no in drag racing.
Yeah, basically when oil gets on the track, it's slick. You're running on not water, but a liquid. So
yeah, traction is key, because there are some very high horsepower, high power cars that rely. It's life or death if you get the adhesive.
That was on street night, wasn't it?
Test and tune.
Test and tune?
It was a test and tune night. But they are very, because they have to clean that up. That takes time, energy, money. resources to get that all clean and get the track prepped again.
That's true.
So they were looking and looking, trying to find it. Well, they thought it was my car because it had farted and misfired, so they figured
It's
they
that
looked
damn
and
white
it looked.
Jeep, wasn't it?
It was a Jeep Grand Cherokee, it turned out by
White
the
one.
end.
Bastard.
That was leaking, and it took them a while to find it. But anyway, they kind of motioned me, you got to get off the track. You can't go anymore. Your car's leaking. So I was embarrassed and had to back out to the pits, and I was so embarrassed because it was my first time down, my grand introduction to drag racing, and it was a total failure, like beyond belief. So Dad, not letting me fall out of the saddle, had hopped me in one of the cars we had just driven up there as a daily driver car, and had me do a couple runs with that. I think
Which car was it?
I think it was one of the Mom's Dart, maybe,
I
or
was gonna say that
Alan's
was
Dart.
Mom's Dart.
I think it was Mom's Dart. Yeah,
Yeah,
it was.
Our mother owns a 1970 Dart Swinger. It is all original. It's got a little ding in the back quarter. Like it's really weird. Somebody hit it, but it didn't scratch it.
Yeah, it just creased the metal, and it's got a slant six,
Yeah.
automatic, same kind of setup. It was the same thing I was running, but
it has
bone stock.
Yeah, that one has the original chalk marks on the inner, like, underside of the car, doesn't it?
Yeah, it still has all, like, it's a
From factory.
Yeah, it's a factory original car. It's nothing special, but it's very nice. It's nice green on green on green, and so we did that. And then when we got back, I had enough. I had thought about, it's always the how do I want to say this, the flair, or the cool factor of having a standard transmission, a manual transmission. So I had saved up, I had bought one, we hadn't done the swap yet, and that's when we decided, okay, that transmission has got to go. I'm going to fire this thing out into the stone wall if I have to. I don't want to get thrown off the track again. So got the transmission changed. I put, instead of the 7 1/4 ring gear rear end, I put an 8 3/4, which is a larger, stronger rear end. It's heavier, but they're good for up to about 1,000 horsepower now, and I'm making nowhere near that. And I also put a 2-barrel intake on the Slant 6. I've got headers from Clifford Research, and I made my own dual exhaust system. So,
Oh, you actually made that?
yeah, it comes from the headers down. They're just shorty headers. Dad and I made that whole exhaust system.
Yeah, it's hard to do.
It's a very fun. There's not a lot of room for the size piping I went with. 2 1/4 inch. I should have gone with 2-inch. That would be more than enough. But I wanted it as big.
Car. Yeah.
It's not a big car in the engine bay department. It's a long car, but it's not wide. And so got that changed and started just driving it more and more and more. Got a not limited. I got a Sure Grip differential to put in, so it's 2 tires now, which makes it a lot more tail happy going around corners. So that's when I really just started driving the wheels off that car. I mean, I will never get rid of that car as long as I live. I drive it. I drive it all over. I was known for that car.
Still are.
Still am. I mean, this last summer and the summer before that, I haven't driven it as much. Last summer was because I had picked up my old blue truck. I've got 87 Dodge D150 with a slant 6 and a 4-speed standard.
Yeah, you
and
like those slant 6s.
I love my 6s. I'm a big slant 6 guy. I'm a big 6-cylinder guy. I love the sound of 6s, V6, slant 6, inline 6s. I like them. I like the sound of them. I like the tone. I like to work on them.
Like the smell.
Yeah, I like the smell. I like the smell of this engine. Smells like gas.
Yeah.
Smells like leaky oil. Can change that valve cover.
That's like me with 318s.
Yeah. Yeah. You like your 318s.
Oh,
and they're a great engine. They're more powerful, they're better.
318's a small block V8 Chrysler.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
so there was that, and that really started the ball rolling on getting into cars and going all over the place. And I had cherry bomb exhaust on it, just open headers
love
basically.
Yeah.
It was so loud you could hear my car for miles around. Like, this is obnoxious levels of volume.
Oh yeah, you could hear it from my house. You can hear them in town.
Oh yeah, you can hear that. You could hear that car scream, and I drove like a jackass. I still do. My friends all attest to that. That Pat's driving is not the friendliest, not the daintiest, not the friendliest,
not the calmest.
Yeah, I definitely I've got a lead foot.
Reminds me when we went down to go get the Conquest.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going down to go get my car, my new car that I just got this summer. I've been driving the wheels off that. And this guy cuts me off. And we quote cut him off. I was just going into the lane. So the guy raises his hands. He's practically giving the finger. So Patrick looks over and he starts getting angry. And I'm just cruising. I'm like, I don't care.
Oh, yeah. And, before we had left on this trip, our parents had said, for Casey and one of our other brothers, Ryan, who was going with us, for them not to get too angry or road rage or stuff like this. And the first one to tip over was me. And the window doesn't work on the passenger side. The button didn't work at the time. We fixed it since on this Volkswagen we were driving down. So I was trying to get the window down to get my arm out the window to flip this guy off. I got road rage instantly.
I was just sitting there like, whatever.
Yeah, I definitely. And also when we went down to get the car, Casey drove all the way down, and then I drove back. And
oh, yeah.
He did make the comment to Ryan that we're going to get back quicker than we got here.
And we did. It was like 15 minutes quicker.
Oh, yeah.
It was a 4-hour drive?
Yeah, about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But tell them about well, before we get to the new one, talk about the project, Jack Forkey.
Oh, so there's a guy we know, Jack Forkey, who's up in Watertown. And he runs a small private collection of Mopar parts, just Dodge Chrysler. Nothing.
Great guy.
Nothing later than 72 because he doesn't want to deal with titles or anything like that.
Well, except for trucks. Trucks will go sometimes older.
Only parts, though, not a full truck.
Well,
like he'll sell a whole project truck, yeah, but that's for his own personal.
Oh, okay.
If he owns it, but as far as he'll sell project cars, he'll get rollers, he'll get all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, he sells internationally too. He's sold to what was it? Europe the other time,
over
right?
to Germany, yeah.
Germany, that was it.
Yeah, one of his cars wound up getting shipped to Germany. So he had talked to Dad about, do you guys want an actual drag car? I have an actual 65 Barracuda drag car here. And when he was talking to Dad, saying, your son's one of the only ones I know who are working on these cars or interested in them. They're not super popular 65 or 66 or 64 Barracudas. They're not a super popular car. They're steadily gaining popularity.
They're a beautiful car.
Due to just, I don't want to say necessity, but generally the more popular cars are 67, 8, and 9 Barracudas, or 70 and later are the E-body like the Challengers and the Cudas, and they're much more, those are super popular, super expensive.
Yeah, we're talking $1 million cars.
Oh yeah, and the 7, 8, and 9 were these long back, notchback, and convertibles, and they're super popular, and they've gone up in price out of anything any young person can afford. So the 65, well, 4, 5, and 6 are more affordable, and they're more obtainable now if you're looking to get into a vintage Plymouth, and you look at this car and go, yeah, I could do that. But especially back when I started, nobody was really interested in these. So Jack sold me this, and at the time...
This is like 3 years ago, right?
Oh, yeah. 3 years ago now. At the time, Dodge had come out with the Hellcat, and it was super popular, still is, great platform, amazing cars.
Oh, this must have been 2014 or something then, huh?
The Hellcat had been out.
Oh.
It wasn't when it first came out.
They came out with a crate engine. I remember that.
Yeah, they had the Hellcat, but Hellcat was out, so it's a Barracuda, which is a fish. So we thought we would go with like Hellfish or something like that. There was a 65 Barracuda project that a guy had named Hellfish that I really liked, and he had a logo and all sorts of stuff. So I was kind of cloning that a little bit, paying homage to it. But we have a very good friend of ours, Bob Weeks, who is a pinstriper by trade. He's an amazing artist, super talented, and
funny guy.
he's got a vision. He can think of things and visualize how things are going to go before he does them. Well, he brought it upon himself and had an epiphany. It's not going to be the Hellfish. No. So I am the proud owner, and I don't say this sarcastically. I am the proud papa of Satan's Guppy, my 1965 Plymouth Barracuda drag car. And the car to me is very special because I love the Cudas.
It's a flat black car.
It's flat rattle can black, but Bob painted a huge mural down the side of it. Satan's Guppy with his little devil fishing, and it looks like a car straight out of the 60s you would have saw on the drag strip. Like it.
Yeah, it's got that 60s lettering.
It's got such a vintage look to it.
It's got the name
on
the side. And
that car to me is, when I got it, it had a sticker on the back window, said Project No Buck, Low Buck. And that has been the theme of this car. I mean, I got a transmission from Jack, but the engine that's going in it
Oh, I love
is
this.
the original engine from my dad's first car he had in high school, which is a 1969 Dodge Coronet.
Still has it.
He still has and drives this car to this day. In fact, Mom wanted to go for a ride in it yesterday.
People always see Dad on the street and they're, is that the same car? He
Yeah.
goes, of course it is. Isn't your junk Chevy?
Oh, yeah.
Dad.
Dad is a very
Classic.
yeah, he's a very Mopar no car for life. I mean, he's instilled that in us, but I don't put my foot down like that.
Yeah,
There
you're
is
malleable.
there is no brand that I dislike. Every brand has come out with great cars and bad cars. Chrysler's not infallible, Mopar's not infallible. They've had some turds in their life, and they've had some
Never.
great cars. Oh, they have had some turds.
You're talking about the 84 Challenger.
To those of you who own one or love those cars, no offense intended, but that was not the peak of performance.
Hey, now.
That was not the peak of performance
now.
by any stretch of the imagination.
But anyways, so yeah, Dad now has it's a 340 cubic inch. There's a tunnel ram on that with dual fours, something like that.
Yes, I believe so.
That car is insane. It's a 4-speed and he runs what, 12s?
Yeah, it was in the 12s with it, 12-second quarter mile
God, that's a small block.
in a B body, which is a big car.
Yeah.
And so that was, so I have his original engine that was in our basement since I was born. For 29 years, older than I am, that engine has been on an engine stand in our basement. He had taken it out and saved it, and I'm going to put that and race it in my car. I haven't finished the car yet because with everything that's happened in our garage, we stay pretty busy. I just haven't had time to finish the car. I'm down to I consider it just a couple small things. They sound bigger. Put the engine in, put the transmission in, get a drive shaft made, run the fuel line, and then just wire it.
Yeah.
Which sounds like, wasn't that building the whole car? Not really. At this point so far, I've put the wiring in, I've put the seat in, the 5-point harness, the gauges, the fuel cell, the suspension, tires, new leaf springs, rear end, brakes, master cylinder, line lock. I put a bunch of stuff into this car. So hopefully by next year, if the border opens up and we can get back up to Canada to the racetrack, I'd like to see what she can do.
Yeah, definitely. And was it 3 years ago today I bought my truck?
Yeah.
Yeah, I bought a 1968 D100, which is a Dodge.
You'll see a theme with that.
So I bought this truck from a guy named John E. Harvey down at Gasoline Alley in Malone, New York. He used to sell Yamahas. He passed away since, but he sold me this truck for $2,000. Came out of California. The lady had it. I don't know what she did to this engine, but she bent a rod in a slant 6. That's really hard to do. You got to run it with no oil across the country.
Oh, yeah, that was a lot of...
That was
a lot of
hellfire
abuse.
raining upon the lower end of that engine. But anyways, so I bought this truck from him, and this was after Patrick bought his Barracuda. And I was looking for a project because I was working 8 hours after school at this point. So I had a healthy chunk of change. I probably had about $15,000 at that time. And I was only, 15, 16? No, I said 3 years ago, 17. Yeah, so I was around 17, 16. And Dad had word of this truck. And I was a truck guy. So I went to go look at it. It was a short bed. So I was like, that's a short wheelbase. That'll be really nice. And it came out of California. That's no rust. And it was been in the storage bin. So I ended up buying the truck. And, of course, here comes Crazy Legs, Bob Weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Very funny guy if you ever meet him. He comes up and he tells me he's going to put a mural on my truck, but I can't see it until it's done. So I went to work one day and I came back and here it is, plastered on the side. And I am, just like you say, I'm the proud owner of Guppy Poison, which is supposed to be the detergent that takes out the plague of Satan's guppy.
Oh, yeah. Well, Bob's big idea with this was back in the 70s,
60s, probably.
60s and
Yeah.
70s. There were a lot of rivalries, like Snake and Mongoose,
Yeah,
which
I
are two
love
rival
them.
drag cars. They made a movie about that, and it's an excellent movie to watch. And so he figured we could do kind of like that, snake and mongoose, guppy versus guppy poison.
Yeah.
And that
yeah.
it would kind of motivate us to work on the cars.
Yeah, so what's on mine is that there's a little mural of me with spraying poison on the guppy side of it.
Yeah.
And what's going into that is a 451 cubic inch. It's basically a bored out 440. It's going to be around 600 horse. I put probably $10 or $11,000 into that motor. I only probably put about $2 or $3 into the actual truck. But I'm at a standpoint. I was
priorities.
Yeah, priorities, right? Yeah, let me put actually, probably around $14,000 into a fucking truck that I'm not gonna see run for 5 years instead of my education, where I can make that money in probably a couple years. No.
Why buy it when you can build it?
Exactly. I could probably buy it for a lot cheaper.
You could have bought one for a lot cheaper and just built off the platform and gotten to the horsepower you want, but you wanted to build your own baby from scratch.
Of course I did.
It's something special when you've built it yourself, and this isn't to knock anyone who buys, because there are some people who just can't work on vehicles. They're just...
But they should.
But they don't have the aptitude, or they don't have the confidence, or the skill set, or the...
That's that whole discipline
or
thing. Go for it.
Or the resources.
Yeah, but go for it.
Yeah, but there are some people, like, say you live in an urban area where you cannot physically have a project car. You are not allowed to, because homeowner society says that's an eyesore, send that to the junkyard. That's not on the road.
Move.
Yeah, but some people don't have that option for work, finances.
True.
Like they say, you never know someone's story.
Yeah. So anyway, I bought this truck, and we had a customer who basically threw away an engine. I can't remember why.
The engine was acting up, and they thought it had spun a connecting rod bearing, and the base of the engine would have to have a bunch of machine work done.
That was it.
So instead of paying all this money for the machine work that they figured they was going to need, they had another engine that they had anyway that just needed to freshen up, and they figured they'd put that one in instead. It would be more financially viable to just put this engine in than to pay for all the machine work, replacement of the original engine. Yeah,
so anyway, this guy just basically threw this engine block away. So what I did was I ended up, scrounging for that. So what I did was I took it down to a guy named Roger Forbes, who he doesn't really openly do engines anymore, but back then he was doing a lot more. And he basically honed it out and decked it and painted it R4 red for me, Chrysler red.
Mm-hmm.
And I bought some of these trick flow heads, which are already pre-ported heads, which basically it was innovative for the time, because that was right when they were doing pre-porting. That was cool.
Yeah,
that was very cool. And I was like, oh damn, I'm gonna be breaking records here. Not nobody's ever done this. There's like maybe 1 or 2 videos on YouTube that people have done it. Nowadays, everybody's already done it. They know about them. They're great heads still, but I've yet to put them in my damn truck. The engine's together, but
yeah,
I had
the truck
some
itself
complications.
Is not together.
Yeah, back in 1968, actually starting in 1961 through 71 is the swept line era. Basically the style of truck that I had. So basically what they had was standard trucks, because who the hell needs an automatic when you're just working on the farm? So anyway, what they would do, Chrysler, was they drill holes in the frame, and then if they custom ordered an automatic, they would throw the cross member in there and just take out the manual on the production line. They would do that. So these were very rare pieces to find, and I ended up actually getting one of these stock cross members, because these automatic trucks that they came in were actually called the CSS model, and they would race these. They were 426 cubic inch wedge motors. They weren't actually Hemis, which is, if you know the difference, you know the difference. I'm not going to get into that. But anyways.
We could add another 3 hours to this podcast if you want.
I know. Well, don't worry. You'll be back. But the wedge motor, that thing, they would run 13, 12 seconds with a full 8-foot box truck.
Oh, yeah.
With a 4-speed.
They were healthy contenders.
Yeah, and they had bucket seats, and they had the shifter on the console. So basically where you turn your heat on in your car, probably now, there was a shifter there. These were cool trucks. But anyways. So anyway, it took me a few years to find one of those cross members, and then I had to figure out what kind of modifications I had to make to the original truck in order to get these things installed. And yeah, that's where I am now. I just modified it probably 3-4 weeks ago. So we're finally there. Anyways, we'll talk lastly, if you want to just mention your new car.
Oh, okay.
That's pretty exciting.
Yeah,
And then
it is to me.
We'll wrap things up.
Okay. So to finish off then, well, I'm going to derail this a little.
Go ahead.
Nah, I won't.
You can
go
save it
into
for the next podcast.
Yeah, I think I will.
Okay. Do you want to wait for the whole car to describe it and everything for the next one?
Sure. Because what I'll do is I'll pick up, and so as far as my automotive history goes right now on this, I have, and it is chronological. I had my Acclaim, then the Cuda, then I picked up I'll finish off with talking about the truck I had picked up. So I picked up a 1987 D150. It's in baby blue, and it has towing service written down the side. It was like an old
Slant 6
4-speed standard. And it was some towing service. We can't read because of the font. You can't really tell what it says. And they like wrote a couple numbers over each other for the phone number, so I can't even look them up that way. So I bought this truck now in Western New York. Paid $1,500 for it. Came with an extra engine that the guy had fresh from a machine shop, and it needed it because the one that was in the truck was very tired, very old. It seen a lot of use. So I picked this truck up for $1,500. I've named her Daisy. I put a sound system in her, and I've used that truck all over the state. I've been downstate with it. I've been across the state, over in New Hampshire, Vermont. I've hauled stuff all over. It's been quite the workhorse. It's a regular cab, 8-foot box, bench seat. The seat is super comfortable. And I've put a lot of miles on that truck. I get up to 24 miles per gallon on the highway with it, which is pretty good for a 30-something-year-old truck.
Well, it's also an 8-foot box truck. It's a full-size truck.
Yeah, it's a full-size truck. 2-wheel drive. I've loaded the crap out of it. Filled it one into those wood, stone, brick, moving people. So it's got a lot of use. It was one of the best investments, best purchases I've ever made. So I bought that for my work truck. I was going to put a hitch on it, but have since changed that plan. But we'll continue that in the next episode, whenever that happens.
Yeah, next time you come back, because you'll definitely be back.
I'm glad.
Yeah. You got anything to say to anyone out there? Nothing?
Nothing too much. I mean, we've talked a lot.
Stay hard.
Yeah.
All right.
Life's not as hard as you think. I mean, I don't know who's going to make it to the end of this yak fest, but.
Oh, yeah, definitely. If you made it to this far in, then you're probably going to be on here.
Yeah. And honestly, for anyone who's made it this far, thank you for listening. I mean.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Thanks everybody for listening, supporting the podcast. Be sure to check out the possible channel that Patrick is going to be having. He is thinking about doing automotive vlogs and things like that. So I'll definitely link it in the description when he does have that up. It's in the workings. It's being molded and mended together, right?
It'll be a little while.
It'll be a little while, but it'll be
while.
up. Don't worry. Don't you worry, your little heart. It'll be up.
Hopefully by winter.
By winter. Okay. We'll be looking out for that. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening in. This will be hopefully a reoccurring thing, and you can look for this on YouTube and eventually on Spotify. Have yourself a wonderful week, a great day, and a nice hour or two listening to this.